While it might look like a time of abundance with all those flowers and all of that foliage, there's actually very little to eat. This time of the year is known as the hungry gap. All of your winter crops are past their best and the soil is still too cold for most of the summer ones. But while there's very little to eat in the garden, there are plenty of things to do. Even on their way out, many vegetables can still provide a really important role in the garden, as their flowers attract beneficial insects. And the very best can be saved for seed. This was my best Spigariello this year. It had really lush foliage and lasted a lot longer than any of the other plants. So it's the one I want to save for seed. So I just stake it, tie it up, and let this one flower right through the season, and then I'll have lots of seed for next year's crop. One crop that I've had great success with this winter are my Chantenay carrots. They're a really large carrot and they actually get sweeter as they store over the winter time. And in the past they've tended to rot in the ground. It gets too wet and they're a really large carrot, but this crop held incredibly well. So of course I want to save some seed. Now, you need at least 5 plants to make sure you've got nice genetic diversity in the seed. I've caged them off because Squid does like to pinch the carrots. I'm going to let them run up to flower and let that seed dry on the plant. But as well as letting them stay in the ground, I'm also shifting the way that I'm cultivating them as a plant. When you're growing carrots for their roots, the actual carrot, they go into fairly low nutrient soil so that you don't get lots of leafy growth up top and nothing down below. But now I'm growing this as a flowering plant, so I'm giving it all the trimmings. I've poked some peas in around it to try and help to rebuild that nutrient in the soil, and I'm also giving them a liquid feed every 3 or 4 weeks to ensure their flowering and seed set can be the highest quality there is. And the coriander growing in this bed is going to get a little liquid feed as well, because I've always found that the most successful leaf crops of coriander I grow come from my own saved seed. One question that I often get asked at this time of the year is, when do I harvest my garlic? Because many varieties will sort of mature that late spring, early summertime. And it is hard to answer definitively because we grow so many different varieties across different climates. So you need to look at your individual crop. Some will die almost back to that bulb, but most only yellow a little bit before they're ready. Others do things like this. It's forming this little flower spike called escape, which we pick and harvest and eat. It's delicious. It's like garlicky asparagus. But really the thing to do is to look down at the bulb. You can just dig around a little bit and try and see that they're nice and full. If you think they look ready, the thing to do is to actually sacrifice one. You pull it out of the ground and you cut it crossways. This is an older bulb, so it'll be more papery, but you just need to look for that separation of the individual cloves. It'll be paler than that because it won't be dry, but when you start to see that, you know that this is ready to come out of the ground. And the key thing is you need to wait for some dry weather. If you pull them up while it's wet, it's very likely that they'll rot in storage. You get them out, you get that dirt off them and trim off the roots and hang them to dry. And then if you do that well, you can store and eat your garlic for months to come. When it comes to spring planting, you do have to hold your nerve because the air temperature might be warmer, but the soil temperature is still cold. But what you can be growing is that soil. Now this bed, I had a green manure crop through winter. It was mustards and peas, all edible. And then a few weeks ago, I chopped it up and dropped it on the ground. I covered it with some aged manure and a bit of straw. And you can see that it's actually breaking down really well. And what that does is a couple of things. It adds organic matter to the bed, but it also really increases that biological activity, all the critters that break it down. And that means when the corn and the cucurbits go in this bed in a few weeks, they're going to have great access to all those nutrients. The next bed that I want to prepare is for the tomato crop, which will go in about 3 weeks, but I'm going to use a different approach. The first thing I need to do is just clear the bed of all the old plants. I'll leave a couple of these Spigariello to help pollinate my seed crop, but the rest have got to come out. You might have noticed that I'm not pulling these out with all the roots and soil attached, because this is a no-dig garden, and by twisting them and leaving some of the roots in the soil, that actually adds organic matter at a nice deep level. So the tops can go to the chooks and those roots can stay in the bed to rot down. Because this is no dig, I'm not turning this over. I'm just using the fork to gently sort of leave it open and help to aerate the soil. And it's a great technique to keep that structure of the soil intact. It's also fantastic when the soil is wet, because if you dig it over, you can risk really destroying it. So you don't have to be a pure no-dig gardener to use this bed technique. I'm also adding some gypsum, which you may have used as a clay breaker in the past, but here I want to use it because it is a source of calcium that won't raise the pH of the garden bed. Now, it is really important for preventing disease problems in tomatoes down the track. I reckon those tomatoes are going to boom when they hit the ground. I can taste them already. But before that soil warms up, you can always sneak a few little shoulder crops in. I've got lettuce, pak choy, and even a strip of radish. I'm going to get them in the ground. I hope you get stuck in to a few spring things too.